Hallo zusammen, die Sojabohne ist ein wichtiger Proteinlieferant, sowohl in der Nutztierfütterung als auch in der menschlichen Ernährung. Ich möchte ein bisschen mehr über den ackerbaulichen Hintergrund der Sojabohne sprechen und bin deshalb in den Staaten unterwegs und spreche mit David. Er ist ein Farmer, der schon einige Jahre Sojabohnen hier anbaut und sich wirklich gut auskennt. Ich treffe mich jetzt gleich mit ihm, also kommt mit.
We don't use hygiene.
Okay.
That's just on our set. We use hygiene. That's yeah, we don't use hygiene.
So, David, thank you for being your guest today. I'm very happy to talk to you. So, I think it's pretty good if you explain what's the main difference between the US farming and the German farming, because I heard that your son is in Germany at the moment for working there on a farm. So, maybe introduce yourself and start with the main differences.
Well, I'm David Wessel. Welcome to our farm here in West Central Illinois. We farm corn, soybeans as our predominant crop, but I also got some wheat, cereal rye, use cover crops on all, or not all of our acres, a lot of our acres, and I'm a 100% no-till farmer.
Okay.
That was one thing. I actually went to Germany 5 years ago and visited several farms, and that's one thing that I noticed. I hope that the more and more no-till is getting done over there, but at the time I was there and the farms that I was able to visit, I was seeing very little of it.
Yeah, and you have so much more soybeans here in the US, so maybe you can kind of explain to the German farmers what do you have to consider when you grow soybeans?
Well, soybeans are becoming a very profitable crop here in the United States. For years and years, it seemed like corn was king, so to speak. But here in Illinois, we think soy is the king. And it has been on my farm here for several years now, and I don't see any turning back. Actually, this year was the first year that soybean acres surpassed corn acres here in Illinois, and we're looking for another record crop of soybeans because Illinois farmers we've been doing them for a lot of years. It took a lot of practice and a lot of hard work from organizations like the Illinois Soybean Association and researchers that we have at our universities to get everything right, but I think we're getting it down pretty good, and we can raise the best soybean crop in the world.
Okay, so maybe you can suggest the German farmers, if they want to start growing soybeans, what do they have to consider, maybe with respect to having clean fields, and what do you do for that?
Well, it doesn't take a lot of management up front, so to speak. I no-till all of my acres. Most modern equipment is capable of no-till planting. You may have to modify it, do a little work or modification on your planter system, but it really, what I see around the world when I've traveled and stuff, I think most modern equipment, anything made in the last 10 to 15 years, is capable of doing a good enough job of planting it. We rotate most of ours here following a corn crop, so after I harvest the corn in the fall, pretty well just leave it alone. On part of my acres, I will plant a cover crop. I'll go out and put cereal rye out there is my predominant cover crop, and that's mainly on some ground that I'm worried more about soil erosion or water loss, and that also help hold the nutrients or whatever I may have in the soil left over from the corn and help recycle them.
Okay, so soil erosion is a big topic here also?
It is, yeah. I mean, Illinois, right here we're on probably the flattest field that I own, but half of my fields, if you was with me yesterday, we'd be standing on one leg because, soil erosion is a major problem, and that's what got me started in the no-till 35 plus years ago. My dad started it before I even did, a couple years before I joined the farm when I was 18, and that's been the main thing, is to hold that soil. I mean, you can replace nutrients, but you can't replace soil. It took thousands and thousands of years to get some of the best soil in the world that we farm on. And as I went to Germany, you guys have excellent soils too. And anything we can do to keep them on the farm and out of the waterways and the river systems is just a big win for everybody. Okay,
but also the cover crops help
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main reasons that I started with the cover crops, is to help on the soil erosion. It'll slow off the water runoff and help hold that soil, the roots, just having something growing there in the winter, because our climate's a little colder than you are. I mean, we will get a freeze up here in probably November. Our ground will start freezing, so if I can get something there to help hold those roots. And cereal rye is a very forgiving crop. It'll grow in almost frozen ground. I've seen it under a snow, like I swear it was bigger than it was when the snow melted off than it was when it snowed. So it's a crop that you put out there to have something growing and alive in that soil throughout them winter months, and those roots are sitting there holding that. Yeah. Because our corn, our soybean roots, they're all dying, they're decomposing, and you just don't have that holding power there.
Yeah. Okay, you said that soy is good to earn money, of course, but how do you handle the marketing of your soybeans?
Well, we're pretty fortunate here in Illinois. We have a great waterway system. The Illinois River is 15, 20 miles from where we're standing right now, and I can go up there and 3 or 4 different places and load on a barge, and it can be in a week or two be in New Orleans, getting loaded onto a Pan-X vessel, heading to wherever foreign land that our buyers, because in Illinois, 2/3 of our soybeans are actually exported.
Okay, so you don't store the soybeans, or do you
we store them on, we got grain bins on the farm, and that's where we're taking them today. As they leave the farm, they're going to a grain bin, and then whenever they call for them at the river terminals.
So you have contracts?
Yeah, we have contracts, and the river terminals will call for them, or we'll just haul in. It's kind of like playing the market a little bit,
sure.
Because as you put it in, usually at harvest time, basis level, which a basis is the price between Chicago Board of Trade, who sets our soybean price, and they're kind of a worldwide, I know each country has their own thing, but the Chicago Board of Trade is what a lot of prices are based off of on a world market, and they set that price, but yet each terminal, let's say the river terminals where we dump, they have a basis, so it's so much above or below that price. That if they're needing beans, they'll bid up, and that's when a good time to start cleaning bins out. If they're not needing them at that time, if they got their orders all filled up, you can let them sit in the bin.
I mean, you already have the knowledge about few years with growing soybeans, so you're pretty good at that, I think. We're always talking about sustainability. It's a big topic. What about your sustainable soy? So is it kind of certificated, or is there anything you have to consider when we talk about sustainability?
Well, as the Illinois Soybean Association, we're doing more work on trying to get, and USEC is also our U.S. soy program that they have and everything. We're doing more work on selling that United States soybeans are sustainably grown. We are on land that has been farmed for generations, for over centuries, and we're not taking out any new land. We're actually losing land every day in the United States to urban sprawl and other developments that are going on. So anything we can do to raise more on less ground, and we have proven that we can do that. Our national yield and our state yields goes up on an annual basis, and we're producing more by using a lot less inputs. I use 25% less fertilizer now than I was 5 years ago, and I'm still raising a better crop than I was at that time.
Yeah, so because also the soybean becomes better? Like genetically modified soybeans?
Well, I mean, the GMO helps us on weed control. It gives us options. There's several different traits out there that are available that you can apply post or pre things that herbicides that you wasn't able to in the past, and just genetics and variety that these companies and our universities are working on and developing. Every year they come out with new varieties that
There's a high speed with
that are more disease resistant and higher yield, higher protein, higher oil content. There's a lot of different things that they're working on, and that's where we're trying to sell into a precise market. If we're looking for a market that's needing feed, we can try to identity preserve a higher protein soybean, and a lot of it here in the United States, there's a big push for the renewable diesel. And so if they're needing more oil content, I know there's a lot of work being done on that. So there's certain beans that go into that market, and then other beans that fit better into a protein market.
Yeah. What about, so you only have GM crops, right?
I do have non-GMO corn.
Okay.
All of my soybeans are genetically modified.
Yeah, okay.
And that's, I'm actually, next year I'm planning on planting some non-GMO soybeans.
Yeah.
And that's just because over the years I feel my weed program has been working good enough that I can go back to some that aren't as resistant to certain herbicides.
Yeah. What about new breeding methods? So do you, for example, have soybean that is breeded with like method CRISPR?
Well, I don't get into the breeding methods that they use. I just, I know there's a lot of different aspects like the CRISPR and the gene editing that they are using to develop new varieties, and as personal, and what I feel, sorry about that, what I feel is anything they can do to make our soybeans produce more with less. If they got a soybean that needs less water
and less
nutrients, to I feel that's a win for the whole world.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so to conclude, soybeans are in the US very common, and I think in Germany they may become more common too, because there are already farmers that have a good knowledge about the crops. And yeah, it's very interesting to get your information about many years growing soybeans. So thank you very much at that point, and yeah, all the best for your son in Germany. Maybe we can meet again in Germany about
my son's over in Germany right now, staying with different farms to learn as much as he can, and hopefully he'll bring a little of that knowledge back to Dad.
He will bring the soybeans to Germany.
Yeah, and maybe he's passing on what I've taught him over the years.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna.
All the best.